Hi, and welcome to another Grow Tech video. I'm going to be going over several things today with my new and improved design of my flood table. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the changes. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be talking about the plants that I have germinating in there. Third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the fish. And fourth thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the hardships that I've had so far. It's been about a week and a half, 2 weeks or something like that, I don't know. But I guess that doesn't really matter. So let's start out right here. First thing that you guys will notice is that I have a hoop house system set up over it, or a pseudo greenhouse. So this was made with some 1/2-inch conduit going into some 1/2-inch slip PVC end caps that have holes drilled in them, and they're screwed into here. There's 11 wraps of electrical tape that hold them in place, and 11 wraps is actually the perfect number if you guys want to try to build this. So there's 11 wraps of electrical tape that hold these in place, and as you can see, they're kind of rigid. There's a 1/2-inch piece of PVC in the top that's held on with zip ties, and that keeps this whole thing a little bit more sheer. Originally what I had done is I had built this whole thing out of PVC, and it looked like crap. It's actually sitting over in my garbage can right over there, but I'm not even going to bother showing you guys that because it's kind of embarrassing. So another thing that I've done is I've added a temperature and humidity gauge to it. It's just a little electronic one that hangs up on that ridge right there. One of the changes that I made to it is the water harp, or what I call the water harp. I don't know what this thing is actually called, but so what I've done is I've made it run the full length, and I drilled the holes in that were spaced a little bit further apart, and it goes into the same old biofilter. Some people were having troubles figuring out exactly what this biofilter is for. They were asking me, well, why don't you just use this as your biofilter, because that's going to house the bacteria that you need anyways. The reason I'm using this one is because it's out of an old industrial system of mine. It's still up and running and everything, but I've changed out the biofilter since then. So all of these rocks were pre-primed when I got them in here. They already had that bacteria growing all over them, so I figured I would put these in and allow that bacteria to just take over the whole thing. And as you guys can see, based on my nasty algae that I have growing all over the damn place now, I do have those nitrates and nitrites that I need. So another change that I've made, besides the water harp and adding the greenhouse system to it, is my drain system. The reason I changed the drain system is mainly because of water level. An issue that I was having was this water level for the perlite was far too high, and it was very floaty, as you can kind of see here, but as I push down, it's nice and solid. Now, the issue that I was having before is my hand would just slip right through it, and that's not good for, it's too wet. The perlite's designed, or I guess not necessarily designed, but one of the attributes of perlite is it wicks moisture up to the surface. So, makes it great for potting soil and stuff like that, but this, like I've said before, this is just an experiment. I'm seeing if only perlite will work for a seed sprouting or microgreen table. So back onto the drain. What I've done here is I've changed up the brick design. I took out the gravel that was in there because that was also adding water resistance, which was raising the water level. And I've just used this double mesh dog screen as my kind of, I guess you would call it a like a dam wall or something. So the perlite pushes up against it. Those rocks down there hold the wall down in place, and the water just seeps right through without a problem. So that keeps the water level a lot lower than what it was before, which is good because then that means that I need to use less perlite, which means that it costs less money, and that's, you know, best for everyone. So I guess those are really all the changes that all the major changes that I've made. I guess the next thing, I already talked about that. So the next thing that I'm going to be talking about is what am I trying to grow in here. I don't know if it's going to work because these particular plants here are native to Germany, I believe. They're called Mache Rosetts. I don't know what their German name is. That's just, they've got many different names, and I don't know, I might talk about that in the description. So what I have going on here is I planted these 2 days ago. I'm trying to get them to sprout. They're growing on, what's this called? Cheesecloth, and they're inside of this tray. So I put this thing right over the top of it to keep the UV light from getting to it, so all of those seeds think that they're underground. And I guess we're going to see how that goes. All of my other seeds, my wheatgrass, those were old seeds. Those seeds were just about as old as I am, which in the seed world is incredibly old. So most of those just kind of slimed over and got real nasty, and they didn't like it in here. So I don't know if I'm going to have any success trying to do that with any newer seeds. Another 3 more things that I'm growing in here is this right here in the biofilter, and I just dumped these in because I had extras. I have some green onion coming from here to here. I've got butterhead in the center section, and I've got romaine in the far section down there. So I just put those in. Same day I put in the Mache Rosetts. We're going to see how well that goes. I just dumped them in. It's, I guess because I had the spare seeds and I needed to get rid of them. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is my fish. Most of my fish have actually died, and the reason for that is because of the perlite. I didn't wash it beforehand, which was a huge mistake on my part. So when you get perlite, when you dump it in, you'll realize this, or if you've ever dealt with perlite, you'll see it. Some of these things, they get crushed up. Let's see. They get crushed up and they form this nasty, powdery gook that you see all over my fingers now. So what was happening is that was flowing underneath the perlite. Because the perlite was floating on the surface, it was floating underneath the perlite and getting into my drain system. Once it would go through my drain system, it would go into my first tank below, and it would spread out between all the tanks. All of my fish were dying because of internal bleeding, and I think it's because they were choking or they were ingesting it and they couldn't pass it or something like that. Anyways, it just destroyed most of my fish. So unfortunately, a lot of my fish are dead. I still need to get new ones. Learn from my mistake. If you're going to use perlite for anything that has to do with aquaponics, wash it beforehand. So, what else am I missing? That was my hardships. Some of the hardships that I've had with this system is, first of all, the fish dying. That's incredibly unfortunate. The algae growth, as you guys can see going on here, it's kind of a green color. If I pick this up and I turn it over, you can see the difference in color between the algae and the underlayers. See, like that? So I'm figuring out exactly how I'm going to get rid of the, or not necessarily get rid of the algae, but cut back on it. And I'm assuming what I'm going to do is just get the rest of my pond liner and lay it out over the top of this. That's what I did when this was still out open in the sun and in all the elements, and it cut the algae out, like, it cut it out very, very well. But the only issue that I see with that is it might raise the temperature of the water. I guess something else I'm going to add to that list is future design changes. So I have a design in mind for keeping the temperature at a constant, or not necessarily at a constant, but a lot lower than the atmospheric temperature. And hopefully by next video I'll have that installed. But essentially what it is it's a tube that runs through the center tank underneath here. Actually, let me just open it up. So, oh, you can actually see some of that gunk still in there. It's got the perlite floating in there, and you've got all the crap floating in there. So as far as the cooling system goes, I've never seen anyone do this before, but I'm kind of combining 2 cooling techniques, just using a standard fan and geothermal cooling. But instead of going into the ground, I'm going to put my coils through my sensor tank here, which doesn't seem to have very many fish in it. I don't like this tank for some reason. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take coils of PEX PVC or some kind of flexible tubing, and I'm going to run it from that side down there through this tank under the water, because the water is cooler than the atmosphere, and I'm going to take a small computer fan and blow it through all of that. If it can make it all the way through, I might have to beef up the fan a little bit. And then I'm going to dump the exhaust air into the hoop house, which should keep it at a cool temperature. Mache Rosetts like to be in a cooler climate that's very humid. At least that's what I've read online. If you guys know any different, please comment and tell me, because I could just be doing this whole thing completely wrong. So I'll let you guys know on the results of how that works out. It's really only just a few dollars in parts to get all of that, so I should have that done pretty quickly. I guess I haven't had any electrical problems or anything like that. Really the only hardships I've had have been Paralite and my bulkhead fitting is leaking, but I can easily fix that. So thanks for watching my video. It's still pretty rough, but I'm getting there. I guess have a good day.